Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing
Miss
well. Good to see
Director of African American Media for the White House.
you, man. It
What a
is.
pleasure.
Thanks for
Okay,
having me.
of course. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I know you are super busy. Hold on one second. My dogs are going nuts. The
Okay.
dog walker is here and they don't like everybody, but they get super excited. I have two big Akitas. Do
That's
you have any
funny.
pets?
I don't.
You have no
I don't.
pets.
Who's gonna walk them? Who's
Yeah.
gonna feed them? I was
And
like, I
then there's
cannot.
that. And then there's
I,
that. Well, first of all, it was such a pleasure to meet you when I had the honor of being invited to the White House along with, 30 some odd amazingly beautiful, talented brown sisters to celebrate being inducted into the Library of Congress. But we would not have been able to make it to the White House had it not been for you. And so I want to say thank you because I know it was so busy, and sisters in the White House and we talk for a living. Mama, I know it was hard to handle us. I know. So
y'all,
we
y'all came in
on
hot. You did.
so on behalf of all of them, I first of all say my sorries, my apologies.
No, it was a pleasure to have you all.
It was
You all represent us so well in your respective communities. And, like someone I think said when I told y'all were loud, someone was like, this is the people's house. Our ancestors built this house. I was like, you know what, you're right. This is your house.
that's
So
it.
enjoy. Let's
We
just not get kicked out.
Well, first of all, I'm not gonna lie. I thought for about 2 seconds we might get kicked out because first the White House is huge, so we couldn't figure out how to get out. Secret Service had to said it's this way. Come on, all of y'all this way, and so we thought, and my first thought was, you're there every day. And I know you
Yeah.
have some history at being at the White House, but how in the world do you find your way around without getting lost? It was so many doors that looked just alike. The corridors looked just alike. I felt like I was in freaking, I don't know, like some different alternate universe or something.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I do get lost all the time. I get lost all the time. But, like to your point earlier, Secret Service makes it very clear where you should and shouldn't go.
Yes, they
Uh,
do.
and
Yes,
they
they
have
do.
their reinforcement methods. So, we figure it out. But I
Wow.
mean, I feel there's always some new area that even though, I've been in this town a long time, I was an intern many, many moons ago and I came back in this role and had been here many times in between. There is always something new that I'm discovering.
What a
And I'm
full
always
circle moment for you, right? Because I know I knew I did. First of all, this is full disclosure. I think a lot of people outside of the circle of politics don't realize how many black and brown sisters there are in the White House. So I didn't even know that, the director of African American media for the White House. Well, first of all, I know this was a new position, right? I didn't know that it was that many sisters in positions of power like that. So when I found out, I know DL and Skip, our executive producer, were invited to the White House. I was like, first of all, how come I didn't get invited? And then that was just me being silly. I understood, the how that came about. But when I began to research it, because I am a researcher, I'm a journalist first, I said, wait a minute, this is a sister doing this. I love it. And then I began to, most of these conversations that I have, I try not to do a lot of research on the person because I feel like then it's not as organic in the things that I find out about the person that I'm speaking to and my natural reaction and my natural questions because I am naturally, my mama used to say I was nosy. I say I am inquisitive. So I like to know certain things. And I wanted the conversations to be just laid back, chill, and like we were at brunch and I'm learning about you and you're learning about me. And so the one thing that I did find out though that I didn't know was the fact that you were a sister, the fact that, you had a history of being there, and the fact that, you came from a household that pretty much was surrounded or enveloped in politics in some type of way. And I said, it's such a rare thing nowadays just because of, systemic issues and things of that nature, that, back in the 60s and 70s, our community was entrenched in politics, and for obvious reasons, right? But tell me a little bit about your journey to where you are right now.
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you for that. I would say, as it pertains to just the diversity of this administration, just starting off there, this is by far one of the most, if not the most diverse administration we have seen. And that is because, Joe Biden has made it so. So obviously, we have the first Black woman vice president. The cabinet is half women for the first time ever. And then you have the head of the Office of Management and Budget, who runs a $6 trillion budget. She's a sister. That's never, like, name a Black woman who runs a $6 trillion budget. We don't know. Obviously
Period.
Katanya Brown Jackson on the board. Like they're so, like, I am so blessed to be in this building every day and see these people all the time, people that look like me. So I just want to throw that out there. And I wouldn't be here if that were not the case. And that's because I was raised that way. So going back, I'm from Miami, Florida. So, Dade County.
Throw it
And
up, girl.
my, and my family was very involved on a local level. My mom worked in nonprofits. She worked for the city commissioner. My aunt was the general counsel for the court system there. So I was always somewhere passing out a flyer or doing something or volunteering for free. I've been working for free for a long time, but working for a purpose somewhere else. So as it was like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do next? And as around the time that I was in college, Barack Obama became president. And my family had all kinds of ideas about what I should be doing with my life. And I said to myself, if I could get a White House internship for Barack Obama, I know that would shut them up. I know it would. So that was my plan. I was like, I don't have a plan after that. I don't know what I want to do, but I was like, I am going to figure out how to be an intern for Barack Obama.
I
So I
mean,
so I applied my sophomore year and I got declined. And I was so sad. I was like, well, that didn't work out. And then my senior year, I decided to reapply. But I talked to a few people, and that's what I tell people all the time: like, have conversations. Anybody that you can meet, cold email folks. We have LinkedIn, social media. Like, I talk to strangers, I feel like, every single day, who just reach out to me and tell me their story. And I'm just like, well, somebody did it for me, so I try to do it for them. So, I was reaching out to folks and asking folks to connect me to other folks. So I ended up the second time around getting waitlisted. So I had graduated, and my cousin actually lived in Maryland. So she let me stay on her couch. I was like, I'm going to move to DC and I'm going to make this happen for myself, because they often say out of sight, out of mind. So I
mhm.
am going and as we Black women do, we come, we show up and show out, as y'all did at the White House not too long ago. So I went and I slept on my cousin's couch, and I had coffees every day, and I would ask each person to introduce me to the next person and the next person. And it was actually meetings with women like Angela Rye, who's a
Mhm.
political strategist, and commentator Heather Foster, who handled Black outreach for Obama at the time, and a few others. I met with them. They connected me with some other folks. Next thing I knew, that maybe turned into a yes. And because I had already lived here and taken that leap of faith to move here, I was prepared for it, because I think I got the notification maybe a week before the internship started. There's no way I could have done that from Miami. Like, my mama didn't have it like that. It
Yeah.
wasn't just gonna be like, okay, up and go. I mean, we would have figured it out, as we always do as Black women. But I took that leap of faith. I bet on myself. I talked to so many other people of color, Black women, who saw this young, hungry, you know seemingly talented person who just needed an opportunity. They gave me that opportunity. They put that good word in. I got the internship with the Obama administration, and haven't left. Been here
And
ever
the rest is
since.
history. It's so funny because one of the reasons why I started doing these conversations is came out of celebrating National Women's History Month. And
Mhm.
I thought, we do such a great job of acknowledging and admiring people historically from the past and the things that they've done. And yes, we acknowledge those who were in the present, but I felt from an everyday sisterhood kind of thing, I didn't feel, I'll put the onus on myself, I didn't feel I was doing it enough. I didn't feel as though I were having conversations with people that either I knew really well, people that I had met along my journey, or people that I didn't know but I wish that I knew.
Right.
And based on what I was watching them do, I thought they were doing fucking incredible things. And so I began to create a list of people that I wanted to talk to, that I knew I could talk to, and people that I wish that I could talk to. And when I met you that day, you quickly became one of my top five. And the reason was, it wasn't anything. And if you think back, we didn't have like a long, kind of drawn out conversation off to ourselves. We didn't really, but there's an aura that you have about you. And I said, if I get the opportunity, I want to pull her to the side and tell her. And then I thought, bitch, she's at the White House. She busy, okay? She trying to get us together. She got to go. She got to get people organized. And I said, you know what, though? I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to try to talk to her on my woman to woman, because I want to let her know I saw the quiet strength that you had. I saw the powerfulness in your stature, and in and the confidence in the way that you moved. And like I said, I know already, because I myself am a talkative creature. I am also a big personality. And when you put me and about 29 or 30 other of us in the room together, and now we walking through the halls of the White House, and ain't nobody chaperoning us, baby. And you were quickly
One
like,
at a
hey, 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 over here, right here. I was like, if she can do that to us, this sister is powerful. And it was powerful people in the room, like people who've
time.
been on the air for ages and decades, and number one in the field that they are in. And I thought, wow, and you did it with perfect poise,
Well,
and
thank you.
commanded the room. And I know that sounds small, but when you know, you know. And I know people who are watching this, and people who know me and know people like me, know that is not an easy task. Hell, I know DL knows it's not an easy task, because we go at it every day. So to be able to get us quiet and say, I know everybody want to talk to Corinne. I know everybody got something to say. I'm gonna need y'all
Yeah.
to take it down. We got things to do. And I said, I want to know what goes on behind that. I want to know, with all that you've accomplished, with everything that I'm sure your parents are so proud of you about, what goes on in your head when everything is quiet, there are no cameras, you're outside of the secretary room, and outside of the Oval Office. When you are at home, you don't have a pet. I don't know if you're married. I feel like you're probably single, maybe, because the
I
work is so
am quite
demanding. So
this.
what do you think about when you get home? When you lay down and you have a glass of rosé or tea or whatever, what do you think about?
Well, I am single, let the people know. However,
I couldn't even say it. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Yes, she is
but
single. She is gorgeous. I've seen her in person. She's single. It doesn't mean she out looking. It means she's available. And if you got the goods, you might be able to step to her. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, proceed.
but I don't live alone. My mother actually has Alzheimer's, so I am actually the
Oh,
caregiver, and she lives with me. My father recently had his hips replaced, so he's in my basement. So I tell people all the time, this is the first time I've actually had a two-parent household, because they broke up when I was very young.
oh my God,
So
that's crazy. So
we
wait
have
a
a
minute.
lot.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. I got to get this right. Your mom and your dad are divorced, but they both live with you.
Yes, it is. It is
And what
quite.
is that like? Because sisters would be
It's
like, you
crazy.
remember when? Don't feed him. You remember the time when I was 12, and hey,
So
she get on my
what's
nerves.
funny and I'm sad about the Alzheimer's disease, she doesn't remember. She does. So
Now that's a joke. You know that, right? That's a joke. Erica, you might have a career in comedy on the side, because that's a joke. That's
you
true. She
know,
doesn't remember. That does make it easier.
I say all the time, I make plans and God laughs, and this has been quite a kiki. She does not remember whatever those feelings were. He does. But we've been able to make it work. They both love me. So I tell people all the time, I finally have that two-parent household I thought I wanted when I was a child. Maybe I didn't need it then, but maybe I don't need it now. But I'm grateful for it. But to answer your question, what goes through my head, I think part of it is, the people that raised me. Like they,
Mm.
yes, it's exciting to be at the White House, and you all were very gracious and grateful for it, but we were honored to have you. And it's my parents taught me to remember where I came from. And it's like, if you get these opportunities, you make sure to open those doors for other people. And even though my mom may not necessarily be there mentally anymore, I will always honor the person that she was. And so she's been very, very, very clear that it is extremely important to open the door for people that come behind you, to talk to the people that were ahead of you, and particularly the people that look like you,
Wow.
because they don't. Other folks aren't always going to create the spaces that we're in for us. So we often have to do it for ourselves, and we have to do it for each other.
What a
So it
beautiful
was
sentiment though
really,
about
yeah.
with your mom. My sincere, just heartfelt wishes for you in terms of dealing with that, because I don't know personally, because no one is in my family has had that, but I've read a lot about it. I know it is a dreaded disease, and I know it's got to be difficult to see what was probably, a giant in your life now become the child that you take care of. But what a beautiful thing to be able to do, to be able to now fill up the person that built you into the woman that you are today. And now to be blessed enough, because not everybody could do it, to be blessed enough financially, to be okay, psychologically and emotionally, to be in a good space, to be able to provide her with a home, a loving home at that. So kudos to you on that. Is there any, and obviously for your dad too, because I know sometimes, especially us being girls, we sometimes hold grudges against our fathers when things don't work out. And now he can't go nowhere. His hips are jacked up. You like, now I got you. You ain't going
we
nowhere.
we have no choice but to get along. So that is
Ain't
what
that the
we all
truth?
do,
Ain't that the
and
truth?
we work
But do
it
you
out.
ever find it, because I would imagine the weight in your position has got to be heavy. And I know they say heavy is the head. I get that. But just, being so young and having so much responsibility, because I think, and you and I, well, you heard me say this when we were there, that the, I don't know, overabundance of misinformation about access to the White House, that it is only for the highbrow and it is only for people who are not of color, and there's no way. And I don't think people really know fully that it is our house. Yes, we built it. If you know anything about history, you know that automatically. So we should have every right to walk in, up, around, down, and through that. But to be in a position where it's your job to convey that on a daily basis, does that ever get like so heavy that it's overwhelming?
No, I don't think so. Because I mean, that's the perk of the job. Not only is it the perk of the job, but it's the mandate that we were given. Like President Biden was very clear: this is the people's house. This is not just for galas and state dinners. Like that's a part of his job and what he has to do. But if there are people that have never been in this White House, or there are people or segments of the American population, even Americans that don't necessarily agree with him,
Mhm.
that we can provide access to, provide help to, that is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind, that's why I signed up for this. I didn't have to work here. Nobody forced me to do this.
Yeah.
But when I was given that mandate to open the door to people who I know couldn't even imagine in their wildest dreams, like, yeah, my parents were involved in politics, but never in a million years did they think we'd be all up in the White House, letting people into the White House. Like that's huge for somebody from Liberty City like
Oh
me.
yeah, Liberty City for sure.
So, Joe Biden from Scranton and from Delaware, he had similar experiences, and he has been very clear that we need to open up these doors, let people in, and be helpful where we can be helpful and provide access to the resources they need. So it's I wouldn't call it overwhelming. It's really a privilege.
Yeah. Well, I guess you
So
have to look at it like that. That is absolutely true. Well, I'll say this: I applaud you for the job that you and the Biden administration are doing. I think that especially with this upcoming election cycle and the all the ones in between that we tend to forget that are equally as important, I do
that
commend you guys. Let me tell you. But I don't want to get too far into that because again, the reason for this was for me to give you, Erica, the individual, not, the director of African American anything. It was really about Erica. Like I wanted to say to you, I think you are amazing. And I know the road sometimes, because you said earlier that you're single, and I think a lot of times, let me just dispel this misconception that drives me crazy. Just because I'm single does not mean I'm miserable. It doesn't mean that I am not enjoying my life. And I've seen you at your pictures, honey. You having the time of your life. But do you ever feel as though there is something missing? Like, do you ever feel like, because I'm not gonna lie, I do have moments that, in order to be in this position, like most women, if you are of any level of success, you had a lot of sacrifices along the way. You had a lot of things that you had to say no to. And there are times every now and then, and then I have to pinch myself to remind myself of the reality of the blessing that I'm in. So there are times that I'll have to pinch myself to remind myself that I'm in a blessed position that a lot of people could only dream of or do dream of. Not that they couldn't get there, but they're not there yet. But there are times every now and then when I go home for holidays or, I run across an old friend that I haven't seen in a while and I feel like, oh, wow, they're married and they have 2.2 kids and a dog and da da da. And I'm like, here I am at home with my glass of Chardonnay, catching up on all the Netflix series that I've missed. And I feel a little sorry for myself. Like I should have had more kids. I should have that significant other. And then I go just, refill my glass and sit back down and be like, but I don't anyway. Play. But what about you? Do you ever have those moments of maybe if I could tweak a little bit of an area of my life, it might be here. Do you ever have those kinds of moments?
Yeah, I mean, I do, but I'm really grateful for the seasons. Like I feel though I've lived or experienced enough to know that there's reasons and there's seasons. This right now is my season of professionalism and career and getting the job done. Just because I'm alone doesn't mean I'm lonely.
Facts.
I think that I have a lot of blessings and successes in my life. And honestly, I don't have time to even think about,
Uh-uh.
the fact that there are no kids. Like, what would I do with the kids? Where they gonna
Well,
go?
where they gonna
Like,
live, honey? You got your mama in one room, your daddy in the basement. There's no room for the kids. The kids ain't got nowhere to play,
so
Erica. No, but
So no, I mean, yes, obviously I think of the societal norms and I think as Black women, particularly in these hustle and bustle towns of DC, we have those conversations all the time and figuring out how we're going to balance the personal and the professional, and we are not our grandmothers. And it's crazy because you talk to your grandmas and they're like, they've been asking me since I was 16 why I wasn't married.
that
It's
part.
just it's a whole different mindset. But I'm blessed.
Yeah,
So
it's so
I
funny.
do.
I know you can't do this, but I'm sure if you could, you would. Girl, I'm in Twitter beefs. I'm on I'm going at it because just this morning, this is no lie. I am currently in a beef that I've yet responded back to because some people been at my neck, right? Because there was a video. I'm assuming that I think it started probably on TikTok. I don't even know. Lord knows where these things started. And there is someone who is saying that women, specifically Black women, are responsible for destroying the households as well as feminism because of we've believed everything we read in Cosmo, and apparently Cosmo was written and designed to destroy the Black. I'm like, okay, listen, if I wake up one more morning, and I said it, tongue in cheek way of, okay, here it is. Every morning I wake up, there is another article, another person, another situation that people have found a way to pin it as our fault as Black women. I'm like, I am so tired of every
Right.
ill of the Black community being our fault. Excuse me while I run to Target. I'll be right back. Like I was just like done. And man, by the pings that I've gotten on my neck, I know you probably can't really get into it, but when you see it, how do things like in light of what you just said, we are not, our grandparents, our grandmothers especially, like times are different for us. I recently found out that it wasn't until 1993 or 1998, I can't remember, but it was the 90s that women were able to even get a loan without the co-signature of a man, which would have meant if I wanted to have started my own business when I was in college or fresh out of college, impossible without a man co-signing. And so, when I see these ridiculous arguments and these puppets who are regurgitating stuff that they've read and not thoroughly researched and laying all the blame at the feet of Black women, it infuriates me. And I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are because it's a ton of videos out there. It's a ton of conversations, always about Black women.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I can't tweet and I can't really comment on a lot of these things publicly from my current perch, but it is not a secret that Black women save the day. Black women are superheroes. I exist in a space with Black women who literally run the world right
Yes,
now.
you do.
Um,
The budget, the world, and everything else.
and then they go home and run their household and their families because they can do both.
Right,
So, it is not an either or. It is not we did something to change the way things were. We improved it. Life is
right.
better. There are women who choose to dedicate the entirety of their being to their family. There are women who choose to dedicate it to themselves and their career and making the world a better place. And there are women who do both and then some.
Yeah, I
Women
mean,
are
my thing,
amazing. Black women in particular, we save the world. So,
we
that's that on that period.
save the world. And if you don't believe it, my thing is just do a little research. Look at what happened in Alabama when we had that situation when a certain somebody was running for office and Black women showed up and said, not today, Satan, not today, not going to happen. And any
Black
other time.
women, Black women are the reason I'm sitting here right now.
That's it.
So, so,
I mean, look
so
at
what?
Georgia. I mean, there's so many examples. And I feel like, just I don't know. I want us to get to a place because I don't even want to use this as a time to denigrate other Black women or men. My thing is, okay, we all know that problems exist. We all
Mhm.
know that we sometimes speak in different languages. And I don't mean that literally. I mean it metaphorically. Like there is something that is happening. And what I want us to do is take an opportunity to recognize, okay, hold up, hold up, hold up, something ain't right. If the
Right.
two most powerful groups are not getting along, what would happen if we did? And how
Right.
about spending more time focusing on, well, how can we get along? What can we do to improve our relationship so that we can improve how we move as a community, how we move as a society, and certainly how we move as households, right?
Yeah.
That's where I want to spend most of my time. But I find it difficult to find those kind of conversations because people think that that's boring. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It drives me
But that's
nuts.
why I think your platforms are so powerful because, I call them the Twitter thugs. People get on Twitter and they say all kinds of stuff and they hide behind a computer. But, you have been really great in a lot of your counterparts in facilitating these types of meaningful conversations with people that actually want to find solutions and actually want to have conversations that uplift and inspire as opposed to, folks who are just
Trying
tweeting
to tear
whatever
down and destroy.
people
Ain't
don't.
that the truth? Oh my
So thank
goodness.
you. Thank you for that.
Well, no worries. Let me ask you something. How when you see yourself in pictures, various videos, I have a tendency to not look back at the videos that I've done, whether it's interviews that I've done, interviews that I've given, because there is, well, first of all, it's a vanity thing for me. And I'm like, I don't want to sit around and just look at myself all day. But when you see pictures of yourself, because Lord knows if I was in the White House, baby, I would be looking at myself all day like, look at me, look how far I've come. What do you think about yourself when you see yourself? Not like in the mirror in a reflection, because I think there is a difference in the reflection that you see than when you see yourself in a picture, because there's a moment that's captured. What do you see when you see yourself?
That's a really deep question. What do I
Answer it
see
in
when I
10
see
seconds. No,
myself?
I'm just kidding.
Right. You know, I guess to your point, like the first thing I'm going to say, like, man, I wish I had more time to go to the gym, or I probably should eat better. The physical side. But
Right.
I think that when I really sit down and think about it, I think it's really at the end of the year. I feel like I get very reflective at like the end of the year and the beginning of the year. And I do this recap of like all the things I've done, all the things I've seen. And I do this around my birthday too. And honestly, sometimes I'm like, look at God. Like, look at God that I was
Mm.
able to. I mean, I still feel like I need to work out and eat better. And, man, I used to fit in this outfit better. But
We
other,
all do that.
other
Look, we
than
all do
that,
that. That's in the
other
woman's handbook.
than
It's always there.
yeah, but no, I really do look at the experiences that I've been able to have personally, professionally, and the like, and I'm just like, look at God. Like I have come a long way from the girl that I used to be, and I have so many of my peers and friends that are the same way. It's like within if you look at like where you were just 5 years ago, and the things that you used to think, the people you used to know, the just what you were doing. It's like, but it's only God.
Yeah. Only God. Only God. Isn't that amazing? I feel like there are lessons that I've known. Like I was blessed enough to be raised in the South. And so, my grandparents really believed, I mean, they were not religious fanatics. Like they didn't go to church all the time, but what they did believe in was the power of God. And I remember coming home from college on weekends and my grandmother would make me sit by her bed and she was like, now let me pray for you. Make sure you take this Bible with you.
Right,
And I
right.
look back over my life and I realize how many wrong turns I could have made. And that would have made all the difference in where I am now versus where I could have been. Do you ever reflect on those moments? And what would you say is probably the most pivotal moment in your life that really was a make or break you kind of moment?
I think I've had quite a few. I have
Girl.
I have had quite a few. A lot of this world is not designed, for little black girls to succeed, and yet we
Yeah.
persevere. So that is not lost on me. I think about that quite a bit. I talk about how we are not our grandmas and we're independent, but thank God for those praying grandmas because I do
Mm.
believe that those prayers kind of catapult us and continue to keep us as we continue through this life. But there have been many, I don't really know where to begin. There have been many, many, many moments. I often talk to folks about being in the Capitol during January 6th, and what a crazy experience that was for me, and how I'm sitting here pushing the door, not knowing what's on the other side of it, pushing the table against the door, not knowing what's on the other side of it, and just praying for my life, only to now be on the other side of that and be able to now open the door and provide a seat at the table for so many other people. So that's only it almost sounds poetic, but it can only be God
It
that
could
creates
only
those
be
types of
God. Do you
opportunities.
fear do you fear getting older? Do you fear aging? I know when I was younger, I used well, first of all, when I was younger, I thought I'm never gonna get old. I don't even know. Like it's just not gonna happen. And then age was like, excuse me, ma'am, it's your turn. It's another year, and then another year, and another year. Do you fear aging at all, or do you see yourself just going in other words, I know now a lot of women are doing all kinds of things, which I say kudos, do whatever makes you feel good. I believe in that wholeheartedly, and I mean that. But I think, some people go a little overboard. I think that, do whatever floats your boat. But how do you feel about aging? What are your thoughts about it?
I definitely think about it, and that's why I love like Bevy Smith has the "It Gets Greater Later" conversations that she has, and I think about it. I don't know that fear is necessarily the word because I've also seen people experience some of the best moments of their lives way later in life. I feel like I am still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still figuring it all out. I think maybe not necessarily getting older, but maybe I fear not taking advantage of all the opportunities that I have, or
Mm.
not doing as much as I can in the moments that I have.
So when you talk about great moments, what to date would you say is your greatest moment? What's the greatest moment
Greatest
you've
moment.
experienced so far?
We're talking about professionally, personally, or just in general?
Just give me one of both. Professional, obviously, you talking to me from the White House. So
Yeah.
I know right now for me.
I think the greatest work moments are, the historic moments, right? So being in the room when, after the confirmation of Ketanji Brown Jackson, we have never seen a
Yes.
black woman on the Supreme Court, and a black woman from Miami, might I add, and
Okay, okay, we get it. Miami, Miami.
being here, playing a small role and get that over the finish line, and watching all the various, attacks. You talk about the Twitter folks, things being at her, and her handling it with such grace and poise and intelligence, and being able to be a part of that, albeit a small part. I'll never forget that as long as I live. That is still pinned to the top of my Twitter page. I will never, ever, ever forget that. And on a personal moment, I think it's being able to give back to the people who have given to me, mainly my mom, primarily my mom, right?
Yeah.
I think my mom ended up in a tough situation. I've talked about this pretty freely. She probably could have saved a little better. I think she probably could have prepared for end of life a little better. But we're where we are. But being able to move her here from Florida, make her situation better, get her health to where it needed to be, but it wasn't because it was being neglected. And give her, a decent quality of life, which doesn't repay her for for giving me life. But, I think I've been able to do at least a little bit to show my appreciation. That's something that I'll always be grateful for. It's not easy, but I am really
Yeah.
grateful that I'm able to do it because I know a lot of people that aren't in position to do that.
I'll tell you this. I'm so happy to have had the opportunity to speak to you. I think you are exactly who I thought you would be. I love
Thanks.
the fact that you can snap it together like, hey, I'm gonna need everybody to marry up, sit down, and wait, because we only have about 30 seconds, okay? And then I love the fact that you can also show up at the party later on, like, yo, we in the building, Miami. But also, I think that there is such value in being transparent and being honest about the things that you go through personally because you said something that struck a chord in me about how the things that your mom could have done and how those things would have made a difference. I think that woman to woman, I don't think that we are honest enough about what's really going on with us and what we're prepared for versus who we're pretending to be. Like we're
Right.
pretending to have it all together and yet we haven't written out a will. We're pretending to have it all together when we don't have enough money for retirement. We're pretending
Right.
to have it all together when we don't have an emergency fund because a lot of times we have that it will never happen to me syndrome. And if it does, it's years down the line. So
Right.
kudos to you for being vulnerable enough to share that because I think a lot of people need to hear that. And more than anything, again, this moment was really about me just being able to say to you that I think that you're doing an amazing job and and I'm sure you probably don't hear that enough. I know that being humble, being gracious, and in a place of gratitude sometimes can also seem like nobody sees or hears or understand how important your role is. You said playing such a small part earlier, when really, in reality, to you, it's a pebble, but to us on the outside, it's a fucking mountain. And I'm so proud of you for being in that position. I'm proud to say that I'm able to see you in that position in the way that you are about, Supreme Justice Katanji. So just so you know, I see you. I will make sure that other people see you and understand the importance of seeing a reflection back that looks like us, that moves like us, and that understands the needs that we have and the concerns that we have for our children, for our brothers and our sisters, for our moms and our dads. And so I thank you. I know you busy. I know your schedule's like, who is this chick talking to? Tell her they are waiting. But I'm so glad that you took the opportunity out to speak to me. I wish you continued success. I wish you abundance in the things that edify your spirit and the things that you don't say out loud and give voice to, but that tiny, the little girl Erica knows what you need, and I feed into her spirit. And I just pray the best for you. I really do.
Well, if we don't lift each other up, who will? So I
Who
really
will?
appreciate you doing that. I thank you for all you do. And that Christmas party, you will be invited. I don't know about DL. I don't know about
He ain't coming.
DL.
He not coming. It's just me.
we
No,
will
I'm
give
just
you
playing.
we will give you DL's invitation. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, his got lost in the mail. No, I'm just
But we
kidding.
look forward to seeing you for that. And, whenever else you want to come back, we appreciate you working with us. I appreciate you working with me and doing this because you didn't have to.
Oh, thank you so much. You have a great day. Now, save me a room by the cafeteria in the White House because you know a
Okay.
sister likes to snack. Okay.
Will do.
All right, girl.
All
Take
right.
care. Thank you again. Have a good one.